God, don't you wish you could predict the future? I'll confess, I read my horoscope every day, just in the remote hope that it might be right. The reality is different, though. Or does it need to be? This week, we're going to talk about how to start thinking about and potentially predicting your professional future so that you can make smart decisions about yours and figure out who the future you could be. Join me and my guests as we go through a practical example of going through the famous Future You decision worksheet and helping one of our audience members figure out her future path. Because you can too. Welcome. Happy to see you here. Please, we would love to see you turn on your cameras because if you haven't been before, this is an interactive experience. I am going to be looking for volunteers today. So if you are ready to put yourself out there, ping Kelly in chat, wave at everybody, Kelly, as she will be helping me with pulling who is going to actually get some real one-on-one time with me on their future you decision, because we are going to have a real example go through. Just as a reminder for the show, we're going to have about 25 to 30 minutes of sharing the idea and how to use the concepts and the tools. Again, as always, we have a learning guide to go along with this. This one specifically is actually a spreadsheet to help you do the math on your future and model out different futures for you. So if you want a copy of the spreadsheet, Kelly's going to be dropping that link into chat as well. It should also be with your registration information. We'll also have the magic time where we give away a free 30-minute one-on-one session with me. So you have to be in attendance to win. Kelly has the list and is going to be pulling there too. And then towards the end, for about the last 25, 30 minutes, we're going to turn off the recording, say goodbye to all of our YouTube watchers and listeners, and we are going to have some open Q&A. So just as a reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe or the like button below, or hit the bell if you want to get notified when we have more videos. Just a heads up, Kelly and I were just having a conversation, and I think we just agreed that I now have to create, I think it was almost 60 new video content for the YouTube channel. So if you're not already subscribed, we have a big project that we are working on to get lots of really bite-sized helpful content there. So do check it out if you either can't make it to the live show or want to just watch more there. Okay, so I think we have all of the people who are going to show up today. So welcome. As I mentioned, I've got Kelly on my screen to my left, who is going to help you out. Feel free to throw questions in chat and or comment. She's there, and or give shout outs to your friends as they go through this whole experience. So I'm hoping you all came today because you all are like, oh my God, how do I make smart decisions about my future? When in reality, no one can predict the future. And I think we all got a bit of a smack upside the head this year, well, last year, right? With the pandemic and everything that happened, that we were like, wow, everything seemed to be going along quite nicely for a long time. And then all of a sudden, everything went a bit sideways. And all I am hearing from people is, wow, this is giving me a moment to think about reevaluating my future, what it is I want, where I want to go. And then that deep-seated panic comes in. And if you read my newsletter this week, although it's also going up on a blog, you'll know that I got a call. I was on a coaching call with a client the other day, and she said, at the end of the conversation, I said, "Oh, is there any other questions you have that I could help you with?" And she goes, "What do I do if I am completely panicked about failing in the future?" And we literally had like, I don't know, 60 seconds left. And I was like, that's a slightly bigger conversation than 60 seconds from cover. But we had a little bit of one. But I understand lots of people are struggling with the, well, what could I do? Which is the right path? How do I know what's going to work? Especially when things are super, super, super ambiguous, which I don't think we're out of. So, in that, let me back up a second because I think this conversation starts with a conversation about ambitions. Um, I think we all have them. I also think they are as unique as your fingerprint. And I say this because part of what I get to be is an ambition guide for lots and lots of people. And I have yet to hear anybody's ambition be the same, truly, when we get down to it. And it's this whole conversation around what does success look like? And if you think about it, I think the last time anybody really had an ambition conversation with me without judgment or anything was probably when I was a preteen, before junior high came in and the whole I'm going to judge you about your answer happened. I think there's another big rush on ambition when you're graduating high school and college, with this whole like, who are you going to be when you grow up conversation. And here's what I think. I don't think that conversation ever ends. I had an awesome conversation with a woman who very confidently told me she was 63 the other day. And I said, well, who do you want to be when you grow up? And she goes, I know. I'm glad this is still a conversation. We are just older. We are not done. And so I sit here and I say, if it's about ambition and if ambition is as unique as your fingertip, then the first question I always ask people is, what does success look like? And that in itself is a loaded question because when you think about what does success look like, we've all been a bit brainwashed a bit over the last couple of years. You know, we're brainwashed in school that success is your grade. We are brainwashed in work that the measure of success is your title. And then we're kind of brainwashed on social media that the measure of success is how many followers you have or how many likes or engagements and all of those data points. And I think that starts to tell a little bit of a story of what I call the greed economy. It is a message of the only path to success is up and to the right. The only path to success is more. The only path to success is bigger and better. And the reality is when I look at myself, when I look at people who I admire in the world, when I talk to other people who I'm like, you are killing it, their measure of success has nothing to do with how many dollars are in their bank account or how many followers they have or how famous they are or any of those sorts of things. What's true about them, and certainly I believe is true about me, is success to me is when one, my contribution and the value that I'm adding to an organization is being recognized for what it is. Like people are like, wow, Joanna, you are actually super smart and have some really interesting ideas. Yes, my ego really loves it when that happens. I know that my expertise and my ideas are being valued for what they are. And I am excited and curious about what it is we are going to do. I'm going to give you a really real example. If you had come to me, gosh, 10 years ago, and for many of you, you know that I was an executive at Pandora, and this was during their hockey stick moment. And you had said to me, are you doing the work of your life? Do you love the people that you're working with? Do you feel like your contribution is valued? Do you feel like you are learning and growing? Are you excited to be there? Are you doing the best work you can do? Unequivocally, I would say yes to all of those 10 years ago. If, however, I was still at Pandora doing the same job today, having the same conversation, doing the same thing, Would I say would I say yes to all of those questions? Some of them, sure, but not all of them. And actually, I'd be a little mad at myself for doing the same thing. So I chose to completely pivot my career to completely do a different direction, to figure out how I could wear sequins for a living, and all of the things that come along with it. And I sit here and I say, like, we are so taught to be a bit risk averse and to worry about other people's opinions and to think about what other people's ambitions are for us, that it sometimes stifles us. And I sit here and I say, look, the first question again is, well, what does success look like for me? And for me, it's does my work matter? And am I excited and curious? And yes, there's more. We're going to talk about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs piece. And then how do I measure success there? And that measurement is my measurement. And I sit here and challenge you all to figure out, like, what is that for you? And it might be that your measure of success for your work is what allows you to have time so you can spend time with your family and your friends. It might be your work allows you to have energy and resources to donate to your favorite charity. It might be that you want to be the CEO of big giant corporation, or you want to be on boards and all of that sort of stuff. All of those are good answers. It's really about, what do you want, rather than what do you think society expects? And I just want to share, this does not mean you need to be the big famous, all the likes, all the shares, and all of those sorts of things. Because I sit here and I said earlier about people that I think that model this in a way that doesn't look like me or sound like me, but I absolutely admire. I think Stacy Abrams is a really brilliant example of somebody who is ferociously ambitious. If you've heard her story, it's unbelievable to hear about how she thought about herself and her career and what she does with that. I had the honor of actually getting to meet her in person. She's even more mind-blowing when you get to meet her in person. I also think one of my perfect examples of not only being ferociously ambitious for herself, but also incredibly generous, and to talk about how do you make it easy for people to understand the future you, is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I think that she was an original. She was unapologetic about who she was and what she was kind to do. She was incredibly and unapologetically ambitious, and also incredibly generous. And yes, even she had, in essence, an executive graphic in the version of the collar. And for those of you that are new, if you're going, what does Joanna mean by an executive graphic? Well, we'll be doing a show in, I think, about a month about the executive graphic, which I invite you all to come join, where we're going to talk about how do you let pictures tell a better story about your brilliant brain than a bunch of words on a resume. Because I don't know about the rest of you, but if I was searching for the product of you on Google search and I clicked on the link and it went to a Word document, I'd be a bit bored. Isn't it time to tell a better story? I digress, because I also come back to, you all heard my story of transformation. I also sit here and say, you think about Bill Gates as a character and somebody who is quite ambitious to do some really amazing things for the planet. And if you roll back to, I think it was the 90s, not so much of a nice guy then, still ambitious. I'd say he was a little bit more tapped into the greed economy as opposed to the more generous one he's in today. So it does mean you can change your direction along the way. But it's really coming back to what it is you want and really starting to have a conversation with yourself about that. Now, I'm also a big fan, and there's a show up on YouTube if you want to go watch it, about finding a selfish squad. So a group of people who you can have this conversation with if you do want to have this conversation and don't want to be alone about it. So build your selfish squad. And yes, I call them that because selfish squads are people who are people you admire and people you are ambitious for, and you want each other's ambitions to manifest. I have one, they are my superpower. They keep me going when I'm having that whole, oh my God, have I lost my mind? Am I thinking about things? So So how do you start? So you're like, fantastic. Okay, great. I'm ambitious. I have plans for my success. How do I start thinking about this? And so here's how I think through how to think about, well, what is the right path for me? How do I make the right decision? How do I know if I'm right? All of those sort of things. Well, super sad to tell you that it is not a binary question. There's not a right and wrong answer here. I wish I could come in and say that I could give you the correct answer, because nobody can predict the future. However, I do think you can ask some key questions. So the first one is like, what does success look like to you? What's important to you? My second question is, how important is it to you when you're thinking about what it is? And then, okay, so based on what's important and how important it is to you, how are you going to predict the future against these 5 criteria? And I'm going to get to the spreadsheet in a second, but let me walk you through these. So when I say what's important to you and how is it important to you, so going backwards, these I think are really 2 critical questions. And I break them into 5 different buckets, because it's not just about title, it's not just about compensation, it's about all of the things. So the first question I ask you is, well, okay, if we're talking about the future you, who do you want that to be? What is it you want to learn? How do you want to grow? What is the exciting and curious for you in the future? I know for me personally, when I was making this decision around, do I go back to get another job for another company and go back to what I was doing, or do I branch out and start something by myself? This was an enormous driver for me. Why? Because if I had gone back into the industry and what I had known, I'd have been doing the same things. And frankly, I was bored with the industry. I wasn't excited and curious about where it was going and what it was doing. I was excited about the idea of learning how to run a business myself and all of the sexy things from accounting and legal and HR all the way through to product development. And so that really helped me think through what was important for me. Now, I'm also not going to dismiss the importance for present you and comfort and safety and what's important for you there. So I've been known for a long time that for saying that my rules are: 1, will somebody get injured and or die, including myself? 2, is it illegal? And 3, will I be poor? And if the answer to those 3 questions was no, then I went ahead and did whatever it is I was thinking about doing. This is where the present you comes in. So thinking about what sort of financial situation do you want to be in so that you do not panic. I don't know about the rest of you, but I absolutely remember what it felt like to be broke in my early 20s, and I do not want to go back there. What is important for you in where you live and how much you're working? What are the things that are going to structure the best work-life balance, however you define that for you, that is important to you? So the present you needs to be taken care of. My third one, as you can see, is bigger than you. So I talked about how do you want to have your work matter? This is where this shows up. So how is it you want to contribute to the world? I found that so many people, it doesn't matter what, like, even if it's writing a contract or balancing the books or doing some analysis on some data, there's a certain sense of satisfaction when you can come back and go, look what I did. It's why as kids we're always like, mommy, look at me, look at what I did, because I just jumped into the pool or whatever it is I'm doing. There's something that we really crave when we be able to do something that's bigger than us. And bigger than you can be whatever definition it is that you want it to be. Then I come into confident you. One of my beliefs about how to find that beautiful balance between doing work that matters and doing work where you can grow and learn and do things that have impact, is that you need to be confident in yourself to do so, and confident in your value. Because when you are confident in yourself and confident in your value, then you're able to take risks. You're able to take your will I be judged ego off the table, and collaborate with others. It makes work much, much easier. And then last but not least, I also threw in, just for a bit of fun, what I call just for you. And just for you can be criteria that is uniquely you and really can be anything you want. So an example of that is I started using this methodology back when I was actually interviewing at Pandora back in 2009 to early 2010. And I had my current job and I had 3 different opportunities. And one of my criteria on my just for you for all of the evaluations was, at the time, my husband was about to go leave on a 2-year odyssey on a sailboat all by himself. And he was planning on stopping in Mexico and Tahiti and Hawaii and Alaska and a bunch of other random locations. And the plan was for me to be able to fly there and meet with him. And so I needed a work situation that was okay, that I was going to fly halfway around the world, kind of at a moment's notice. And so that was one of the just for you criteria. I also needed, as an example, in my present you, I needed a job that was in a location where I was close to a major marina for my husband, and then was also close to a major international airport because I'm a bit of a travel junkie. These are really tangible examples of what I'm talking about in these different areas. And thinking about that first step of what's important for you, for future you, for present you, for bigger than you, for confident you, and just for you, will start to help you build out what is, in essence, a non-binary decision so that you can decide your options. Okay, so I have just done a lot of talking and have said the word you, I don't know, 50 times at least. So I love doing practical as opposed to theoretical. So who has a future decision that they are thinking about, struggling with, not necessarily, but thinking about, who would love to go through this exercise with me and have me as a thought partner and actually go through the process? Because in doing so, we're also going to show you all how to use the spreadsheet. And whoever volunteers, I'm going to send you the copy of the spreadsheet so that you've got a head start on this whole exercise. So who would like to put their hand up? Christy, I saw your me exclamation point in the chat. It popped up on my screen. I got to see where you are. Where are you? Where are you? You're going to have to turn on your camera and unmute yourself, young lady. There you are.
Hi.
Hello. Along with your, we are a judgment-free.
Okay, yeah, this is judgment-free zone. I have not taken a shower this morning yet.
It's all good. Plus, you've shown us an awesome puppy, which we are all a big fan of. It's okay. I'm about to share my screen anyway. But before I do so, can you give me a little bit of context into your situation so that my brain can catch up with yours?
Sure. So I am a recovering corporate human resources executive. And I just finished a consulting job running COVID for a company. So I'm kind of exhausted. And I'm starting a new company focused on changing the whole job search and recruiting process.
Okay.
But that's all about building a system, and I'm not a tech person, so there's quite a piece. So I'm trying to figure out how I build that, how I do my best work, because I turn around companies. That's really my favorite thing to do. On top of, this recruiting process that I want to totally change, that's completely outdated, and we have the technology to completely change that whole system. And so I'm trying to figure out how to make money and how to, build this company and, do all those things at the same time. So all of those things around judgment and, all of that is playing playing into this.
Okay, so today's show is about how do you choose between different futures. In listening to you, and I'm kind of making a bit of a guess here, I can hear can we model out, it's not quite the same. What I was looking for in a volunteer is somebody who's like, look, I've got option A, B, and C in front of me, and I don't know, and option A might be stay on the current path, and I don't know which of these
Yeah,
is
that's
going to work
so.
out. Do you have an A, B, and C? Because I didn't.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so the A, B, and C is, do I stay? Do I get another corporate job?
Okay.
Do I do consulting?
Okay.
Or do I start this company?
Do you take the plunge?
Yeah, well, and I'm basically trying to do all three at the same time, and that doesn't really work. So.
Yeah. Yes, pro tip for everybody. It is a recipe for design. Well, it's a recipe for continuing to be stuck, right? Because if you stay there, you stay stuck. Okay, so now let me go to, I'm gonna pop over here to my magic friend, the Googles. I'm gonna have to get my keyboard and all the things working because we're gonna do this together. So in your scenario, and here I'm gonna make you a new one real quick because I want to keep my template. And Christy, I'll share this with you afterwards. So this is, well, current state, we're going to change to go back to office job. Then this is consulting. And then opportunity C is become my own boss, start a company. Although technically you are your own boss anyway.
Yeah.
Because you are all, just a reminder, everybody, especially for those who have not been around, if you are an employee of a company, then you are selling a subscription model of your future time to your employer. You are the CEO and founder of the future you, and that is the product that you are selling to people. And so as you think about this and you think about like, oh, I don't want to be an entrepreneur, y'all already are. Everybody is, because that's the product that we are buying and selling for everybody. Okay, little sidebar rant over. So back to
Joanna.
Yes.
Could you make the tool a little bit bigger on the screen so it's a little bit easier for us to read?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hang on. There, is that big enough?
Much better.
Okay, okay. So I talked about the different criteria. Christy, we are going to do this together and you're going to help me fill us in. We're not going to fill in the whole thing, but I want to show people how I use this spreadsheet to help you figure out what is the best path for you. So thinking about future you criteria, what are some of the criteria that are important to you?
Changing the world with the recruiting and job search process.
Okay. What else? Give me one more. We'll just do 2 on each category.
Life balance, health and wealth.
Okay. Then thinking, which sort of sits in present you criteria, but doesn't. But like, okay, so thinking about present you criteria, feel free to fib on these answers if you don't want to be honest, just because I'm about to ask you nosy things. But like, how important in this part of your world is title? How important is compensation? Do you have time to not make like, what are the things that you're like, this has to be sorted out, otherwise I might get a bit freaky deaky?
Compensation.
Okay. Anything else?
Having time for that work-life balance, because I will just work all the time if I don't.
Okay. Okay. Those are 2 really great ones to put in here. These may be similar, but let's try and get a bit more refinement on the bigger than you and impact. When you think about your impact in the world and your contribution, why is it that excites you?
I have a really strong need to maximize people's talents um, and have basically, I want to have a world where everybody who wants to work has an opportunity to use their talents and have a job that compensates them appropriately for that.
I like this. Okay, so that's very bigger than you stuff. Nothing like a big goal out there. Okay, quick questions. Confident you. Why are you awesome?
I'm awesome because I'm great at figuring out in a company what is holding them back, like the biggest barrier they're having to success.
What else?
I was born to do people, talent, that kind of work. Human resources is aspiring to be.
Okay. And then any criteria in your decision making of which is the right option for you that is just whatever, complete wild card stuff?
I have to have my dog has to be with me.
What's your doggy's name?
Cheyenne.
I'm going to pretend like I know how to spell it and go from there. Anything else?
Just being able to, so I live in California and all of my family is back on the East Coast where I grew up. So just enough time to visit them. I used to be bi-coastal. So I used to be 3 weeks in California, 1 week on the East Coast. And I'm not doing that obviously with the pandemic anymore.
Okay.
So time and money to be there, on a regular basis.
Okay. So for everybody watching, do you see how I was asking the questions and how it was just like a lot of this is gut reaction. There are no wrong answers. But I was just taking what Christy said and popping it in the spreadsheet. This is also why it's just a spreadsheet and not an actual calculator, because you'll want to go in and change these whenever you want to change them. Okay. So next step in this process, and just as a reminder, I'm going to go back here. I said, the second question is, how important is it to you? Because it's not a binary on-off question. Every single one of these has different weightings. So that's the next step in the process. So Christy, really quickly, we're going to go through these everything on this list is important to you. Some of them are like, it is completely non-negotiable, AKA it's 10. Some of them it's if we don't have this, it would be a bummer, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. So on your changing the world future you thing, on a 1 to 10 scale, how big is your number?
10.
Okay. Life balance and health?
5.
Okay. Compensation?
10.
Time for life?
3.
Okay. Strong need to maximize talent?
8.
World where anyone who wants to work can and get paid for it?
10.
Be in a place where you can tell a company what's holding them back?
10.
Be in a place where you are living in people operations?
5, 4, 3.
3. Okay. Nope. I like the honesty. Again, this is why this is a personal journey. How important is Cheyenne's support and all of the things in here that she can be part of your life?
9.
Okay. And time to go back to the East Coast?
7.
Okay. See how easy that was? And it's interesting. I'm sure lots of people would have lots of different answers and lots of different numbers, but they start to tell us, they really start to actually, just in that first phase, help you think about like, well, hang on a second, what is important to me just by going through that process? Okay, now I'm going to need you to do a little bit of guessing because as I said earlier, nobody can predict the future. So in your life-changing, changing the world, if you went to option A, back to a corporate job, what is the likelihood of that happening? 100% is it's 100% going to happen. 80%, 50%, you get how it works. Give it a grade.
30%.
Okay. What about in consulting?
60%.
And starting your own company?
80%.
Okay. Life balance and health. Let's do it again.
I'm
If you go
sorry.
back to an office job, how easy will it be to maintain life balance and health?
Okay. 20%.
Boy, who are you working for? Consulting?
80%.
And starting your own company?
60%.
I would argue that that's going to be a little worse, but that's okay. So coming back, compensation, going back to a job?
100%.
Yep.
Well, at first.
This is where it's your guess, and we don't judge. So what about consulting?
So, I mean, I would say it would fill 100% of my needs right now, but for the future, it would fill like 10% of my needs. For consulting, I would say that could be like probably 75% now, and then maybe 50% for the future.
Okay.
And then my own would be 0% right now, but 100% in the future.
So you'll notice, just because of this, here's what I'm going to do, because I think you said it was 100% here, but it's 10% in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to stay at 75 for consulting. You'll see I've added a factor in there of compensation now and compensation in the future. Because your belief is that is going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Coming back to the ranking, present you, time for life.
30, 90, 60.
And of course, my thingy is not taking, this should be, well, I don't know why it's not doing that. Whatever. I will fix it for you because this will explain it. And then coming back to the office.
You just have to add in the weighting factor for the future.
Thank you.
Sure.
What's our weighting factor on compensation for the future?
8.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. Thank you. We'll do these really quickly. So strong need to maximize talent.
90.
Consulting.
30.
And starting your own company.
80.
Okay. I'm going to skip over this one because I just want to throw in one of your just for use, just for fun. So for Shayanna, going back to the office job, how good is this for her?
30.
Consulting.
60.
And starting your own company.
100.
Okay. All right. As you can see, as Kelly clearly pointed out, you can see that some little calculations have been happening. And if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, this mathematics is starting to paint a picture of Christy's future. And this is a weighted calculation as opposed to just a binary calculation. And so net, I think the corporate job isn't really what the future you wants. As safe and secure as it feels like, there's a bit of a toss-up between consulting and starting your own company. Bit of a toss-up. They're close. I mean, right now, starting your own company, although it sounds like you're already kind of there mentally already, is there. And as I said, we'll send you this spreadsheet we've already started for you so you can go in and fill the whole thing. And here, let me stop sharing really quickly. I find not only does the math help you figure out actually which is not the best option, but the most likely to make you happy option in the future. I've also found that using this, it can make things that look really emotional incredibly unemotional. So I'm going to give you a really great example. So when I talked about how I use this to map out 3 different options for myself, and I am very aware of how lucky I was to have 3 options. But option 1 I had was to stay at my current job. I actually loved what I did when I was using this. I thought it was a great job and I had a lot of freedom and autonomy, and people kind of let me do what I wanted to do, which was fantastic. I had another offer at what at the time was a very cool and groovy company. And when I went to interview with them, it was very cool and groovy. It was a very technical job and it was very male dominated. And as somebody who is a ferocious feminist, I was like, this doesn't sit with me quite right. But it was very cool and groovy and people were very excited I was getting to talk to them. The second opportunity was to go work with this tiny, tiny startup. I was going to be employee number 9. And so potential upside for future income, as Christy talks about, was very high. I was going to get to open the West Coast office. Nobody knew about this company. It was a big stretch for me on my knowledge base. So I was very nervous about the opportunity. It was really going to make me have to double down in data. And I'll just tell you now, I had the biggest professional girl crush on the CEO ever. She is and was amazing. I had literally the best job interview or most entertaining job interview with her ever, because we were going through security checkpoints in Chicago airport together during a snowstorm. And it's been one of my most interesting interviews to date. And I desperately wanted to work for her. And then the third opportunity was Pandora, where pretty much everybody in my network was saying, what are you doing going to work for a music company? Did you not just see what happened to Napster? These guys are going to fail. No, 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 no. I also realized that I was not beloved. Like, not everybody wanted to have me come join the team. I was like, oh, there were some people on the leadership team that I was like, is this going to be okay? They're a little intense. I'm not so sure. It was not a lot of warm and fuzzy. However, there were other people on the leadership team who I was like, my God, this person's amazing. And I would follow them off a cliff. And so I was, unlike Sue, who I was like, oh my God, I would work for you tomorrow. There were people that I was going to have to work with at Pandora that I was like, I'm really nervous about this. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold my own. And all of the stuff in my head was happening. But I went through this exercise and I was incredibly honest with myself about what I wanted, what I needed, what I was ambitious for, what I was aspiring to, I want to work for somebody who I totally admire. I wanted to do work that really mattered, all of the things. And when I went through the exercise, Pandora won by a landslide. It was such a clear decision. And I had spent weeks agonizing over the decision and the emotional choices of who I want to work for. Now, do I believe that I would have crushed it in every single scenario? Absolutely, because I am brilliant the same way you are all brilliant. And in reality, let's all remember, you have not actually failed yourself ever. I don't see anybody in prison or with missing limbs. All of you have actually, like, you've never actually failed yourself. You may have learned something along the way, but you haven't failed yourself. But it did help making what was a really complicated decision really easily and easier. And I think, in retrospect, I think I made the right decision, at least in helping manifest the future me today. But it's also the conversation I had with myself. I was just like Christy. I could have absolutely gone back to a corporate job. I absolutely was getting calls for consulting in the ad tech world, but I had an itch I wanted to scratch. And my practical self was like, take yourself through the model, go through all of the things. And I had to have some really hard conversations with myself about compensation and the risks I was taking and the bet on me. And jury is still out a tiny bit, but I think it's working out okay. That was why I chose, and no judgment on anybody who takes any path, because again, your ambition is your ambition and you get to choose the future you. So, if you want a copy of the spreadsheet, the learning guide allows you to sign up and download it. You can use it yourself. Christy is our volunteer today. We're just going to be sending you what we did today for you to look through. But this is how I help navigate through this, and I hope it will you too. So with that, I want to stop talking and get into Magic Hour and then let Kelly lead the Q&A as she is today. So Kelly, I'm going to hand the microphone over to you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Well, I have just pulled up the winner, and today's winner is Sandy Yu.
Woo-hoo.
I know she's there because she just popped a question in my chat box. There she is.
Sandy, we will be sending you instructions on how to schedule your session. Come with questions. I will come with my sparkles. Ultimately, we're here to help you figure out how to teach other people who the future you is so that you can be you in the future. Because the clearer you are about who you are, what you want, and teach other people why that's awesome, the more likely you get to be you. I know, it's a bit of a circle. I'm Joanna, your potentialist and fairy godmother, and I wish you the very best. Thanks for coming.